Town, New York, and put it on display, if I have the story right. Someone donated something, and someone donated something else, and before you know it, they begin to view themselves as like a museum, and it somehow became an official museum. So Cooperstown, New York, that small town, became like the spiritual hub of essentially the worldwide baseball industry, definitely American baseball industry. And Charlotte's become the hub with its NASCAR Hall of Fame for the NASCAR industry, and Canton, Ohio for the football industry. So it's not that far of a leap for Ottumwa, Iowa to be the home of what grows into becoming the officially recognized International Video Game Hall of Fame for the global esports and video game industry. So when we stand up here, we are very, very honored. Even though Billy and I joke about many things, we are deeply, deeply honored to be up here doing this on behalf of the global video game industry. And we do it with a serious solemnity because we believe this grows into something big, something so big that it embraces the global video game industry and brings all that energy and dynamic power and force and financial wherewithal here to bear on Ottumwa, to make Ottumwa and the state of Iowa a serious tourist destination and maybe educational hub for the everything video game. So that's the spirit with which we present these awards tonight. Even though you see we have modest settings, we have high aspirations, and we believe in this. So thank you for coming to Ottumwa. I'm ready when you're ready, Todd. The International Video Game Hall of Fame Class of 2016 inductees are... What happens next? Okay, so...
Again, following the example of things like the Baseball Hall of Fame, people and things are chosen. The very first criteria is what they call sportsmanship. The second one is contribution to the hobby. And actually, the third one is your ability. But every one of those has to be met. Every one of these people that we speak about, they all meet that to the highest level. It's actually very easy to accept all that because we see it all the time and we embrace it. It's really, really good. First, a modern game, a sandbox game, Minecraft. It's by Marcus Persons of Mojang. It was first released in 2009. It was the best-selling independent game with over 60 million copies. 60 million, I look back on it. Pac-Man had 100,000 units made. Now we're at 60 million. So that's where it's grown, and we've grown with it, and it all began here. Mojang was sold to Microsoft for $2.5 billion. Did you ever think maybe we're on the wrong end of the business? As of 2014, it had 1.75 billion hours of playing time. I mean, wow. That's more time than you talk. So the fact of the matter is, Minecraft is certainly a game that deserves this honor. And Minecraft is inducted into the Hall of Fame as a modern game. Again, Minecraft, whoever hasn't played it, where have you been?
Right?
By the way, there's nobody who walks up here to accept a game. A game doesn't walk up to the stage, so we get to move along more quickly.
So we will be sending the award. I guess there's just one more little element of research we have to do. We're not sure if we should be sending this to Mr. Persons himself or to Microsoft. So we'll figure that out. But somebody's going to be a recipient for this award. And of course, no one's here to accept it tonight. So we're going to move on to the next game, which is another category of game that people voted on is the most deserving inductee, drawn from those games that were published in the 2000 era, like maybe the year 2000 up to the year 2010. And World of Warcraft, hands down, was the winner based on the votes submitted by the public, through our online website, what have you. So World of Warcraft was first released in 2004 by Blizzard Entertainment. It's the most popular MMORPG which means massive online role-playing game. Thank you. I did need that assistant. Mropka of all time. It's the world record for longest marathon play is 29 hours. The world record for longest marathon play is 29 hours and 31 minutes. And there's over 11 million subscriptions to date to play online. So it's a major success of the game. And there are 6 expansion releases for this game to date. So on behalf of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, we're honored to induct the game World of Warcraft as this year's 2000 era game inductee. So let's hear it for World of Warcraft. And these trophies are very, very beautiful, by the way. The trophies were donated by, Jerry, is the sign up there? Maybe Jerry's not. Which one? Quantum Laser Products was the donor of the different trophies we'll be presenting tonight. And they're based out of where, Jerry? They're where? Kissimmee, Florida, okay? Okay, what is next, Todd?
Oh, okay. Zelda.
The next category that the public voted on is selecting the game of the year deserving to be inducted as a member of the class of 2016 for the category of 90s era games. So you see we have these different categories. That's how we get the inductees and have them submitted. So, and the winner for this year's 90s era game is Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. And it was released in North America in 1992. And this is the 3rd installment of the very renowned Zelda franchise. The music was composed and produced by Koji Kondo, and I hope I pronounced that correct. And it's one of the best-selling SNES games of all time, with 1.41 million copies sold as of 2006. So the first game to begin the Zelda trademark of parallel worlds. And you see all the different graphics up there. And there is a trading card for this, by the way, if anybody would like it, okay? So essentially, on behalf of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, we'd like to induct Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, as this year's officially voted on 90s era game. So let's hear it for Legend of Zelda. We're doing, because there's not a representative of Nintendo was interacting with us just to the last minute, and they were sad they couldn't come, and they really liked what was happening. So we did have them very much involved, but they felt it was short notice, so they didn't come. But we will be sending these to them, and so I'm going to also introduce. I introduced Super Mario Brothers, which was the Golden Age game. Now let's turn to Billy for a second. What is the Golden Age?
The Golden Age, as we define it, is anything up until 1986. However, you might even say that's our rules. But the Hall of Fame defines it as anything before 1990. We say that it was 1986 because at 1986, that's when arcade games made a tremendous turn. First of all, it wasn't one quarter, one play. Every game that came out, you'd play a game, and when you died, you just put a quarter in and keep going. So somebody would say, oh, I got the high score. I'd say, yeah, how much did it cost you? It was the old joke. And so the fact of the matter is, but we can, as the Hall of Fame has voted, because I don't always win the arguments, a classic game is anything before 1990. 1985 is significant because if you go to Nintendo, they have their wall of history, and it begins at 1985. We all know that it began long before that, but that's when they began releasing games to the home on a serious level. That's when they were moving from the arcade to the home game, and that was without a doubt the catalyst that put them there. It was so incredible at that time. It dominated everything that there was. And as we know, there was Mario Brothers in the arcade. So those who loved Mario Brothers in the arcade simply stepped over to the home system, and it was the outrageous success for Nintendo.
So So, this year's inductee by the International Video Game Hall of Fame is voted on by the public for a Golden Age game as Super Mario Brothers, which was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka, I hope I pronounced it correctly, and was released in North America in 1985 with 40 million units sold, which was a very large number back then. And in 2005, IGN, which is a very famous publishing empire, which is concerned with gaming, named Super Mario the greatest game of all time. So it was re-released numerous times on multiple platforms, and it inspired cartoons and a live-action film based on the game. So we will be sending these awards off to Nintendo, but we do have a person who will be receiving these on behalf of Nintendo in a moment. And what is our next one, Todd?
Walter's always wondering if he gets the pronunciations correct. I know mine are correct. Satuwa Iwata. In the year 2000, he was the head of Nintendo's corporate planning. Without a doubt, an industry leader. And that's what he's being honored for. He is credited with creating Nintendo Direct in 2011. He's also credited with the development of Pokemon Gold and Silver. I mean, Pokemon of all things. As the president of Nintendo during that period, there was the creation of the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii. I mean, that's incredible things in the gaming industry. Again, someone who's very deserving. And I say, a very significant honor that he received. He did pass away in 2015. However, in 2016 at the DICE Awards, he received a Lifetime Achievement Award. And with all respect and a little humor, I say that was very significant. I think it'll be the second most significant thing on his Wikipedia. The most significant thing is he'll be inducted to the International Video Game Hall of Fame as an industry leader in 2016.
So we now have 3 monumental awards up here recognizing 3 components of the legendary, amazing Nintendo franchise, Nintendo Empire. So we've invited a very noted gamer to come up here and be the official person to officially accept these 3 awards on behalf of Nintendo. And he'll be part of our next round of organization as we figure out exactly how these will be delivered to Nintendo in Redmond, Washington. So,
in the beginning, I talked about somebody's sportsmanship for the hobby and their contribution to the hobby. This one I look at in particularly close. You look at him, he looks like a video game guy. His spirit was tremendous. And his spirit was so tremendous, even though, again, he passed on in 2015. What he created, what he helped to create, and what he pushed forward, all of us, it's going to be a part of our hobby, our fun, our culture for a long, long time. The person, without a doubt, who's closest to them, that we know, so close to them, he's literally a thorn in their side at times. And for sure, he's the one who's qualified to speak on a first-person level, is Triforce. So Triforce, come up here, please.
So on behalf of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, okay, let's go here. On behalf of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, I'd like to present to Triforce the award for Satoru Iwata, and we'll figure out how to get it to him, get it to Nintendo in Redmond, Washington. I'd like to present to you the award for Super Mario Brothers, and the award for Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Speech. Okay, so for those who know me, I'm a big Nintendo fan. But this is not about me. This is actually about Nintendo. Exactly. So Nintendo has shaped the video game industry, and they're the actual reason why the whole console video game industry even exists. Guys like Walter and Billy knows about the collapse, and Nintendo single-handedly resurrected the entire video game industry, especially in North America. So they're responsible for the very foundation that the multi-billion-dollar video game industry even exists on. And guys like Iwata, who took Nintendo into a brave new future with the Nintendo Wii, the Nintendo DS, which has shaped the entire landscape for Nintendo to where they are today with their new video game system that they recently released, the Nintendo Switch, which ironically, the International Video Game Hall of Fame has inducted two of their greatest franchises in Super Mario Brothers and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And this year, two of the greatest Nintendo franchises will be battling it out for the actual video game of the year, and that's The Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Brothers Odyssey. So I want to give a big thanks and congratulations to Nintendo for their induction into the 2016 International Video Game Hall of Fame.
Hideo Kojima is this year's, the class of 2016's game developer for this year, and he's a video game designer, screenwriter, director, and producer. He's the founder and former vice president of Konami Digital Entertainment. He's the creator of Metal Gear Solid. He's the creator of the Metal Gear Solid franchise, which is a remarkable franchise, which has been extremely successful, very, very popular. And he has other games include Snatcher, Police Knots, and Lunar Knots. So in 2002, Newsweek named Hideo as one of the top 10 people. In 2009, he got a Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2016, Game Industry Icon Award. And in 2016, Game Industry Hall of Fame Award. So we are very honored that he's getting his most prestigious award of all. He's being inducted into the International Video Game Hall of Fame here in Ottumwa, Iowa, as voted on by the public, who recognized him as the class of 2016's game developer. And we are very blessed that we have someone here who worked for Konami for many years and actually had worked, I guess he never met Hideo Kojima. Michael Klug is a legendary video game champion who's been a part of many, many, many different activities that Twin Galaxies has, hoisted on the world over the years, and so he's going to come up here and accept this on behalf of Konami. And we put him on duty to do this just a little while ago, so that's why he's not in this normal tuxedo.
I had the pleasure of working on Mr. Kojima's projects at Konami and accept this honor on his behalf.
How do you keep moving this up? All you guys are short. To embarrass Mike here, to speak a little about him, this is his third trip to Ottumwa. He wasn't here in 1982, but he was here in 1984. And he certainly is an absolute great gamer, a classic gamer. Anybody who ever played classic games played pole position. And everybody strived for that perfect score, or what they thought was the perfect score, which was about 67,000. He walked into the old Twin Galaxies on Main Street. Instead of sitting down to play the steering wheel, he sat up high. Now a perfect score is 67. He got 66,000 playing with his feet. So Mike has a unique talent. So he's gone on in the game industry to do a lot of things and work with a lot of great people like you see here. Most things we do here, things we do in his home area, California, he's always here. He's always supportive of us. He's a great guy. So thank you, Mike. so he just hands me this now. Steve Wozniak, the Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award. If anybody knows or knows of Steve, again, the legend, the level of the fact that he deserves this so much is so incredible. Again, he's not the only one, but it would be a tragedy if he wasn't up here. He was a co-founder of Apple Computers. He developed the Apple I in 1976, received the National Medal of Technology, created the first universal remote. Boy, that's important.
Yes, sir.
He founded Wheels of Zeus in 2001. Founded Aquacore, is that how you say that? Technologies in 2006. Chief Scientist at Fusion.io in 2009. Chief Scientist at Primary Data in 2014. You think he's kind of a sharp cookie? He's a sharp guy. The fact of the matter is it's the Walter Day Lifetime Achievement Award, so that's why Walter's bashful. Now, the was very gracious. He knows of what was going on here. He has that spirit. He's beyond supportive. He wishes he could be here, and when he couldn't, he does what you sometimes see at different awards. He sent something short that he'd like to play, showing his appreciation and his acceptance of this award. Are we ready?
Ready. I hope.
Hi, Steve Wozniak here. I am overly delighted to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Video Game Hall of Fame. This means a lot to me because I think that video gaming is so important. I have my whole life. I spent a life believing that you should have fun in everything you do, and that was largely inspired by games as a kid. And the games were pretty dumb when I got into them. Yes, I started playing some of the early home video games, the little Nintendo ones, but the real arcade industry was being started by Atari Corporation. And I even designed Breakout for Atari, but in working there, all of the games were hardware designed games. It took a skilled engineer up to a year to create a prototype for a new game idea because they were hooking chips with wires and signals that went up and down and operated a TV. All of those video games in those early days were black and white. Color was expensive, and they hadn't really solved the formula for creating the games in color. Memory alone was so expensive that it was kind of prohibitive to include extra bits for color, just black and white. Well, as I got these ideas in my head that gaming could take a step forward. You know, every step along the way has been important to us, and I would like to point out that the Apple II computer, which I created, was the foundation of our company. It was the only real successful product we had for the first 10 years of Apple. That's how big a product it was. What was this Apple II computer? Yes, it was a totally different approach to a computer that was so usable and fun and friendly. It allowed us to grow a company because it was so ahead of everyone else that we could sustain a large enough profit. But really, this was the first time ever that arcade video type games were color, and the first time ever they were software. A 9-year-old kid writing in BASIC could make colors move on a screen with statements as easy as let vertical equals 2, let vertical equal 5, let vertical equal 10. Make colors move on a screen. You can see what a huge change that was for the world and how important it was. I am so delighted with where video gaming took us. Everything got more and more natural, like you're in a real world, your own body getting involved in playing a lot of the games, the two-person shooters. Games went so far beyond what we ever could have conceived of when we started the company Apple. And I'm so glad to be well represented here and honored greatly. And anything in my life, I have always tried to inspire young people to grow up having fun and don't believe that, oh, you have to do everything strictly by the rules. No, having fun is a good enough rule to live by. I hope you're all having a good time there tonight. Wish I were there in person. I'm very busy these days doing a lot of traveling and speaking, but I wish you well and I hope to see you at some future event. Bye now.
Just to say a little more about Steve, he took things from what many people would call a primitive age and helped to create the modern games that we see today. Professor Ayatwani, who was the designer of Pac-Man, told me that he worked on it for 2 years and he would occasionally call on different people, about 6 different people, one for graphics or one for sound and things like that. Nowadays, it's about 40 people and it takes a few months. It's not the old way, and it's because of guys like him that the industry has evolved the way it has, pushed and propelled, and is going into the future. So that's why he's more than deserving of everything that we're talking about right here. So again, Steve Wozniak.
Is there someone here named Patrick O'Malley? The man in the suit and the shoes. Okay, voted for a class of 2016 for best shoes is Patrick O'Malley. Stand over here, Patrick, so they can eye your shoes. Okay. So Patrick O'Malley, not only is he a dear friend and a highly respected member of the gaming community, he actually is a historical icon for numerous reasons. One is he's one of the bright lights of competitive gaming for the nation. He still keeps arcade gaming going, and that's very, very remarkable. I have something that he has printed for me to read, but I'm going to point out that he's the winner, or he's the person who's been voted for the class of 2016 International Video Game Hall of Fame Community Action Award. And so, look at the big, is that a Pac-Man? What's that, is that a cake there? That was the Pac-Man guard. How many people have a Pac-Man guard? I mean, other than me and Pat. I'm only kidding, I don't have one.
Same amount of people that have a Pac-Man suit.
Okay, so in 1985, on January 11th, he opened up the Star Worlds Arcade in DeKalb, Illinois. That is literally one of the last remaining, what we describe as authentic, original, neighborhood, vintage arcades. Now there's places that have video games out there, but quite often they have miniature golf and go-karts and batting cages and stuff like that, and all sorts of stuff in bowling alleys, and they're family entertainment centers. But he is an actual arcade that is based on just video game and pinball. So that's a very unique distinction. One of the very last remaining vintage, original neighborhood arcades. So that's a very distinctive accomplishment. He founded the longest original arcade in the world, as I just said. He's the contributor to such events as Midwest Gaming Classic and the International Video Game Hall of Fame. When we first started the Hall of Fame, he was very instrumental in helping us get some of the original activities going the first year or so. So he's been very helpful, very devoted, very sincere, and very loving of all the stuff that has been generated out of this Ottumwa experience. And he runs one of the only remaining token-based arcades. Is that correct? Token-based arcades, okay? And he serviced over 45 different locations with arcade machines, which is around Illinois, Wisconsin, and Uzbekistan and Russia. Is that right? Oh no, not Uzbekistan. Okay, so anyway, Wisconsin and Illinois. So here's what he wants me to say. Patrick O'Malley, owner of Star Worlds Arcade in DeKalb, Illinois, has been part of the coin-operated amusement industry since 1985. Patrick started out with 3 used video games as a reward for good grades in high school. And it was not long before his small collection grew and he was operating Star Worlds Arcade. Now, during the past almost 33 years, Patrick has preserved not only the games of the golden age of arcades, but the concept of the neighborhood arcade as well. He has been part of classic gaming events in Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and Patrick has made friends worldwide in the gaming community and continues to promote and inspires others to preserve an important part of our cultural heritage. And it's remarkable the amount of media attention he gets for his operation, because the people outside there, especially the media, recognize that he's doing this from the heart. He's doing this because he loves what he's doing and he wants to share his love and enthusiasm for other people, which is really the whole spirit of what the Ottumwa phenomena has been all about. It's something we want to share with the world, so we're excited when people come here, like Patrick, to be honored and bring just more and more people here. So on behalf of the International Video Game Hall of Fame, you are the class of 2016 Community Action Award winner. So where is that trophy? And here's the trophy, Patrick. Now you talk.
I'm extremely honored to be here tonight. My mom's not here, but she started Star Worlds with me in 1985, and I was one scared kid because I was younger than most of the customers, but I started Star Worlds because there was nothing in my area for kids. And my mom quickly she was going for nursing school, raising her family, working, and suddenly a week later I found myself actually running the arcade, and she kind of would step in and help me. And what she taught me early on, this award is so awesome because to be honored with it, is community mattered. That my mom would come in and she would do free hot dog nights with the kids. She would come in and do free popcorn for the kids. She always, even if she couldn't be there, she was help supporting it. And things went on further. We started doing stuff with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and I always have supported the community. Moving on to like 2010, when I get this call from Walter Day, and he's on the phone, he's telling me like, yeah, this is Walter Day. I'm like, yeah, I recognize your voice. And he's like, I want you to come out to Iowa to the Video Game Hall of Fame and honor Pac-Man's 30th birthday. And it just started my wheels turning, like, how can we do this? And Walter and I talked, and we have managed to accumulate over 1,000 birthday cards for Pac-Man before we got to the Hall of Fame. And we brought every Pac-Man machine, and then we also came out here for the Twin Galaxies 30th anniversary in Grassroots Gaming. So we've been a part of what's going on here at the Video Game Hall of Fame. As Walter said, we're part of the Midwest Gaming Classic. I've been doing that since 2007. And that's about giving back to your community. It's not about making money for us, because, man, we lose money and sleep for that week. But it's about giving back to your community. And Walter has been instrumental in kind of guiding me in that direction. That he actually once told me, it's your job, it's your mission to actually go out there and represent it. And I'm like, okay, but I knew what he meant. I'm like, I can't control everything, but I can do my part. And we've gone out to do amazing events at the arcade with Walter and I bringing people in. My favorite one was pinball legend Steve Kordak had passed away. In my own industry, didn't recognize this guy's spirit of what he had put into, I think, like 60 some years into the industry, maybe or more. So we had an old-fashioned neighborhood arcade barbecue and invited his family and honored his family. It was probably one of the hardest speeches I've ever given, because I had a man's legacy in my hands, and his granddaughter actually cried and almost fell apart, but it was good tears. And I realized that more and more as I have done these things, it's not just about me. To do these events, you need a team of people. So as Walter was always telling me, become a leader, become a leader. And I did eventually figure out what he was saying, because to be a great leader, you have to have people follow you and follow your example, and you're creating other leaders under you. And especially when you put on a big event, especially like this one, it's amazing. There's so many leaders that had to take the initiative to put all this together. So I thank Walter for teaching me that. And the last event that I actually did was it's called Gamer Grace, and that was actually, they hired me to come in because they saw my expertise. And I loved it because it was bringing handicapped people together, people with autism, with gaming. And they had speakers and whatever, and we did the arcade stuff. But what was amazing is meeting so many people with great attitudes. My family, my friends, and my customers came up to support us and the event. And to me, I realized it was an awesome feeling to be a leader where people actually want to support you in what you're doing. I guess in closing, what I can say is, ironically, this is really cool to get my award in a mall, because I probably spent, before I opened the arcade, I spent more time as a kid in the mall at the arcade. So it was kind of interesting to actually get the award. And I'm taking this home for Star Worlds. Thank you, Team Star Worlds, for all your help.
Something to give Patrick to take home. He won't be the only one. What Jerry describes as swag bags. Basically, it's the community here reaching out, giving what they can, supporting what we do. It's put together really by Kim and Tara, only one of which I see here that I can embarrass. Go like this. All right. But it's so kind, they went out and again, they solicit the community, and they do their own time, their own effort. And in here, there's just a bunch of memories for you to take with you. And again, in appreciation, thank you, sir.
Can we skip this one? There are different halls of fame out there right now that are trying to focus on the video game and esports industry. But the one that's special, the thing that this Hall of Fame is most special about is that not only did it originate, be the first Hall of Fame to originate the idea of honoring the video game players, because Billy and I had the experience for years that when we'd be involved with the industry, it's all about the designers and the games and the manufacturers. And no one was interested in the gamers, the players. And so the Hall of Fame, the International Video Game Hall of Fame specifically, especially with that first year, we inducted a lot of people who were actually high-score champions and legendary gamers, because we wanted the Hall of Fame to be about gamers. And that is a growing tradition, and that's why we have these different categories of 1990s gamer, 2000 gamers, and we are proud to tell you that Isaiah Triforce Johnson was selected by the voters for the International Video Game Hall of Fame class of 2016, 2000 esports competitor, which essentially is like the year 2000 to 2010. Triforce, could you please come up here? Okay.
So much of what Triforce did is unique. It's unique, or he was the first one to do it. When I heard of Empire Arcadia, it was the first time I had learned people gather like that. We usually have a house, like a palace, and they're in there playing hardcore gaming. And I thought, ooh, those guys are beyond the pale. But the fact of the matter is, I watched and I saw where it led. Again, he was the founder of the esports team. Again, the world record of 2,000 team victories for the Empire. Okay, he retired as a pro gamer. He put gaming or competitive gaming behind him as a player in order to push the industry, push the hobby, push it in the right direction, and very much preserve the history of it as well. More than anybody, probably more than me or Walter, he's really dedicated to history and history being preserved. Anyway, he was always known. People in New York knew him. When Nintendo was releasing a game, and it was going to be released on Friday, you could almost go there on Monday, 5 days before, and he's the guy sleeping outside with a sleeping bag. He was going to get the very first copy. I'm exaggerating a little, but only a little. They also knew him as the guy with the power glove. And the fact of the matter is, he has 30 world records on the Twin Galaxies scoreboard, 8 Guinness World Records in gaming, and he continues esports, not just here, but all over the world. It is not total. There's some other people that are going to be sympathetic to me when he's called and he's had a problem and he needs a little help. Sure, where are you? I'm in France. I'm in Guyana. Can you help me? No, I can't help you. Give me a break. I mean, if you're in Miami, I can help you. But again, it just shows you how hard he works, and the people who work with him who don't get any credit. The people on his team who don't get any credit, he takes all the credit. And the fact of the matter is, he does do an awful lot. He reaches out. There's nothing that intimidates him more than anybody, including me. You don't even count. More than anybody, including me, he advocates for the importance, the right, and the position that players have in the industry. He lobbies hard, companies, organizations, that the players that they want to bring in order to push or promote a convention, those players have to be appreciated, they have to be paid, they have expenses. He does that more than anybody, including me. He really holds their feet to the fire. He's an advocate for everybody in this room and everything that we all stand for. So, I always pick on him and tell him the picture I like best is the one in the bottom in the middle because I can't see his face. But that's just friends joking. Anyway, again, Triforce, Isaiah Triforce Johnson. And as I sit here, I really appreciate him and I hope you do too.
Just one interesting little thing I want to add is that almost more than anybody, Triforce recognized immediately the incredible spirit of Ottumwa being the video game capital of the world and the birthplace of organized competitive esports. And he's almost the biggest promoter of Ottumwa being, the video game capital of the world and the birthplace of organized esports. So it's incredible that we have a friend and supporter in Triforce Johnson as we induct him into the International Video Game Hall of Fame class of 2016, 2000 esports competitor.
Thank you, everybody. This is a long time coming. I didn't write a speech. I'm actually here to talk to everybody. And the first thing I want to do is give thanks. It is always right to give thanks and praise. I am not a religious guy, but nothing can be done without God. So we thank God first. The second person I would like to thank is my mother, who has passed away in 2012. I was in LA with Walter, receiving an award from Nintendo for being the person who stood the line for the most Nintendo launches. And my phone was ringing while I was actually receiving the award, and this is actually on YouTube. And Walter, a representative of Guinness, and the president of Nintendo of America, Reggie Fils-Aimé, was honoring me with that award from Guinness. After the award, I found out it was my brother calling me. And so I went back to my hotel room, and as I was being awarded by Nintendo and Walter and Reggie, I received news that my mother passed away. So as something good happens, something's bad. What's that line? As the pendulum swings in favor of one, it swings back in favor of its opposite. My family, my entire lineage comes from a, very humble means and backgrounds. We are from Jamaica originally. We are from Africa. That is where our descent is, and I always allow people to remind people that I am African, from a family in Jamaica, but raised in the United States of America. And despite America's problems here and there, it's still the greatest country on earth. With that said, I would like to move forward with that, and I would like to thank the rest of my family. My father, who is in New York with muscular dystrophy, so he's almost immobile. My aunt, who told me that my mother's last words was that she was proud that I was in the Guinness Book of World Records, and that she would want me to one day come back home to Jamaica and represent Jamaica, in which I did. So in 2012, I went back to Jamaica. I brought my team there to help bring Jamaica up in esports, help them solidify their space in esports, because they had a community, just like you guys, that played video games, but no platform to push it. And I went there, and it was in Jamaica that I won my 2000th tournament for my team, which then got our team recognized in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most documented tournament-winning video game team on planet Earth. I also made my mother proud by getting 8 Guinness World Records, 30 Twin Galaxies World Records, and hundreds of tournaments, over 100 plus tournaments that I've won. I bring this up because it's not about me tooting my own horn and what I've done, but to show the dedication that I have for the people that I love and those around me. So that's my family out of the way. The next set of people I want to thank is my other family, Empire Arcadia. I could not be here. It is impossible, literally impossible, for me to be here if not for the first 2 dynasties that helped me get to this position. I would not have had the platform to be recognized. Much like Walter, it took Billy, it took the whole Life magazine crew of gamers and all the supporters in Ottumwa, the people from the Ottumwa committee who grew up and helped him build his arcade, for Walter to be able to get his vision realized to today. So I want to give a special thanks to my entire team, members of Empire Arcadia, both now and former, for helping me to reach the levels that I've reached with my team and to get me to this point. Now that I'm at this point, I've retired from competitive gaming. I now can play video games freely, just for fun, no more competitions. I don't have to prove anything to anybody, and this ends this chapter of my life. With that said, let me go into the final segments of this. I'm done here with competitive gaming in terms of playing it to prove anything. But a new game starts for me. And after this Hall of Fame, I now don this suit. The gamers need someone to represent them in this multi-billion-dollar industry that naturally builds a machine that takes advantage of gamers worldwide, because they will not create a platform for gamers to be able to get their shot at stardom and greatness. They will not help the people who put down the infrastructure, the mud, the wood, the bricks, the cornerstones, like Walter. They're going to forget you because it's a machine. But this industry, none of the video game companies, none of the video game esports industries could be anything without us, the gamers. It is impossible. We're the ones who buy the games, we're the ones who play the games, we're the ones who promote the games, we're the ones who add the context to the content. So without us, there won't be any industry. And my job now, at this point, is to make sure that I represent the history, which is Ottumwa, Iowa, the actual one and true only video game capital of the world, undisputed, and to bring the outside world in and to raise Ottumwa up as the Mecca, the Madison Square Garden. You guys need a dome by the Bridgeview Center the next 2 or 3 years. I'm serious, I'm gonna work on that. And bring the world here so that they can meet, this is for us younger generations, the elder gods. That's what we call them, guys like Walter. Because these guys are the first gods. You see, we have a god down here and we have an injustice god over there. And but like Walter and Billy, these are the elder gods. So my job is to actually bring the world so that they become educated about these guys and help make Ottumwa great again. And with that, I want to thank everybody for supporting Ottumwa, Iowa, and giving me this great honor of being put into the International Video Game Hall of Fame. Finally, yes, one more. There's an ending to this. I would like to give my greatest thanks to the elder god himself, Walter Day. Small story. My team could have not been made if not for what you guys did 36 years ago. It is 36 years ago, right? 36. I caught that later end of That's Incredible when Ben Gold came racing through the tape. Yeah. And he won the championship. Guys like Steve Harris, who wrote EGM, would tell tales in the early editions of EGM about all the greatness of these championship gamers. The Nintendo World Championships held in Florida at the Epcot Center. And I was like, man. Yeah, Billy tells me real stories. So I was like, I want to grow up one day and be like these guys, and I want to be great at video games. And that stuck with me. I wrote an article about Walter in 2001 and posted on my website in 2002 as the pioneers of esports, which Walter read, and I didn't know until I met him in 2008. He was like, "You're Triforce Johnson," and I'm like, how do you know who I am? He's like, you wrote an article about me in 2002 about what we've done in Ottumwa, Iowa. And if not for Walter, if not for Billy, Ben, Todd Walker, Mayor Jerry Parker, Ottumwa, I would have never been inspired to make my team. So it's thanks to you guys, Empire Arcadia exists, and thanks to Walter. Thank you very much.
Again, from Ottumwa Video Game Capital World, your bag of tricks.
I bought a bunch of swag already.
Yeah, I know we got the money. Also thanking the Ottumwa Chamber of Commerce, Southside Drugs, Eyes and Ears, Indian Hills Community College, John Deere, Ottumwa Economical Development, Ottumwa Regional Health Center, and Pizza Hut, all of which local people here have contributed to this. So I try not to say it at the end when everybody's walking away. Next, coming up to introduce somebody is somebody who should not need any introduction. It's really cool in the industry when somebody does something so good, the different people we've honored here, because it inspires people to want to do that well. A lot of what Triforce was talking about. Well, the guy we simply call Doc here, he created an arcade in Illinois, something that so many people were intimidated to do in the industry in its state. And he said, no, we can do this and we can be successful. Not only is he successful, but he is, or he's on the verge of being the largest arcade in the world, the most games in the world in Illinois. And again, the spirit that he brings to it, other people see, and they say, oh, I want to open a place like that. Oh, I want to open a place like that. When you go in there, it's not a place where you go and you give your money and you play your games. There's spirit, there's support, there's a community, there's a camaraderie behind it. So it's only fitting that Doc Mack steps up here to introduce the next person. So, but in the meantime, we'll introduce Doc Mack.
Hey everybody. At the arcade, we see so many people that are passionate about video games. Some are passionate about competing. Some are passionate about designing games. We have industry people that come in. They've made some of the greatest games that have stood the test of time. We get players that are incredibly passionate about scoring and setting world records, and people literally travel in from all over the world. Usually, the people that come in, their focus is just on one of these elements. And there's very few people that come into the arcade that transcend all of those criteria of what they're looking to do. And we want to bring up Chris Tang. Chris Tang, I was fortunate enough to meet Chris when we got Primal Rage 2, which was a game that he had worked on that had been canceled. And we resurrected it, and it was so unfortunate that that game was canceled because it was a really great game. Chris has done so much as far as in the competitive world. He has won the Rock, the Sega Championships, the Nintendo Championships, countless Street Fighter Championships. He is an amazing competitor. He's an amazing game creator, and an amazing, even before he came here this weekend, he was setting new world records over at the Galloping Ghost Arcade. I think you said 2, which is just, the players that he's going up against are just incredible. There's people that focus on these games, they have access to them 7 days a week, and Chris can just come in and put up 2 new world records in such a short amount of time. It's just absolutely amazing, and he is, again, one of the few people that transcend all of it. He's in the cosplaying, which he's also won numerous contests and titles for that. And he's just one of the most incredible and amazing people that I've ever met in this industry. And he is fully deserving to be inducted into the International Video Game Hall of Fame. And there's so much more to him, and we can't wait to see what comes from the future. He's still designing games even to this day. And it is an honor to be able to present you with your 2016 International Video Game Hall of Fame Award. So congratulations, Chris.
Thank you so much, Doc. It's a real honor to be presented by someone who himself has done so much for games and the history of video gaming. And on that, I've got kind of a long speech. Sorry for the length. It's got a lot of stuff, but I'll try to get it over with quickly. We all started off in life as a blank, empty slate. Some of us find our way early on as children, but some, I'd hate to say it, but myself did not. I won't get into details, but I found no joy or reason to exist in my earliest years, and it was a painful way to live. Until I discovered that video games were my calling. Concepts like high scores quantified my growth and worth. The sad and empty being that I was began to transform, and through games, I was able to find confidence, self-respect, and maybe even talent. As cliche as it may sound, I truly believe that if it were not for video games, I would not be alive today. What started as a momentary diversion was just the beginning. Even when I was too young and inexperienced to become a champion yet, I was unknowingly studying for what I would be doing later in life. I read every magazine and book on video games I could find, learning how to play them, about their history, and how arcade and console businesses worked. Most importantly, I read about the early contests, events, and scores as they were happening. The Twin Galaxies arcade and scoreboard, Ottumwa, the video game capital of the world, and Tim McVeigh Day. Taking a break from that, I would draw pictures of arcade game cabinets and game designs from my imagination with my crayons. I began to have heroes I could call my own, particularly names like Eric Jenner, who's also a Hall of Famer, Tad Perry, and Ken Uston, who authored many of the books I studied. I read about the US National Video Game Team, which Walter Day helped create, and wondered, would I ever be able to join them, or be like them someday? I saw that that's incredible competition, like Triforce, events on TV, and watched tons of the game show Starcade with Jeff Edwards, excitingly jumping up and down, wishing more than anything I could be the one playing the games and making those scores and winning those contests. I didn't know it then, but my time would come, but later. When amazing feats and triumphs are put on display, it's only natural to want to strive to achieve more. And that's why this place, Ottumwa, the things that happened here, and what's being done to preserve this history matters so much to me, and why I'm here today. A place that recognized the importance of something like a high score record or a competition win, making that real, allowed myself and so many others to become inspired by it. Video game arcades across the world then became more than just rooms full of games. They became magical places where kids like me could build themselves and reach limitless potential, and I feel that my life since has been proof of that. The competitive spirit created a high standard for my gameplay, my discipline, determination, and perhaps everything that I did. The results from my first competition, the Hawaii State Nintendo Championships in 1989, were perhaps dominant and overkill only because I had held myself to the standard of the legends that I had studied about here. I went on to win many competitions on Street Fighter II, Mortal Kombat, Super Mario Bros., Tetris, reaching the pinnacle with my win at the Sonic & Knuckles Rock the Rock Sega World Championships, which was broadcast around the world on MTV, had a $25,000 prize, and was the most ambitious esports event ever held when it happened in 1994, and there's never been anything like it since. Going back a bit from that, in 1990 at the Nintendo World Championships, I had the very good fortune to meet someone who had a huge influence on my life as one of the best positive role models anyone could ask for. He is also a world record holder, or was, on pole position 2, and part of the history that happened here is by Klug, who's over there. I marveled at his connections. To the history that I studied, and the shocking revelation that he worked at Atari Games in Tengen. So he gave me a shot and a chance, and I began working there too. And that was the start that I had in the game industry at an early age. So I might not have been here in Ottumwa during its most historic era, but Mike Klug, he was, and was also inspired to compete. And you can say that all these things connect together, because by enabling a person to give them a shot to do the very best, they might be able to give the chance and the shot to someone else, and I believe that's what happened here. And I was able to fulfill a life-encompassing dream of creating games. So with that in mind, I've always felt a deep need to devote myself to and give back to video games in a positive way, and I When I got wind that I was nominated, I didn't really think I was ready yet. I didn't feel like I made enough games that people loved and inspired enough people, but somehow, here I am, I finally made it, and I couldn't be prouder to be on a stage like this. Over at Portland Retro Gaming Expo a couple of weeks ago, Koji Nishio, or Korian, Tetris Grandmaster champion from Japan, came up to me with a Sonic & Knuckles cartridge, Japanese version, and had me sign it, and I found out that he had actually seen my competition win in Japan over 20 years ago. And a similar story happened with the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater champion the next day, where they told me that they had seen me back in '94, and it got me thinking, maybe I was inspiring people all this time, I just didn't even know it. And sometimes you don't even know that you're inspiring other people, but if you do your very best, maybe you might. And I saw people playing my game on demo at that same show, having fun with it, playing it with their parents and their friends and their rivals, and there's never a better feeling than that. So when I think of things like that, when I think of like millions of people watching me commentate Tetris online and then echoing my meme, which is really funny, it's boom, Tetris for Jeff. And you might have seen me wearing the t-shirt earlier, but it's pretty funny stuff, but a lot of people have seen that, and when I think of touching people through the art of video games, then I feel that maybe, just maybe, it's okay for me to be here on this stage that Walter and the city of Ottumwa has so graciously provided me with. But I would not be here without so many people that have supported me on the journey, and I want to thank them now. So I want to first thank my mom and dad, Gwen and Milton, for getting me my first ColecoVision, Atari, Nintendo, and Sega systems, eventually approving of my gaming obsession and driving me around to compete in those first tournaments. Because that was the thing, back in the day, you drove around on these tours. My older brother Arnold for giving me the gaming computer magazines. My little brother, also a gaming champion, who was a real Sonic the Hedgehog master in the family and was invaluable to my training. From my days at Atari and Tengen, those who gave me a shot to be a game designer, Bill Hindorf, Dennis Harper, and especially Mike Plug, thank you. To Hank and Eddie Rogers, thank you for making me feel so welcome in the Tetris family and for fixing my busted foot. It's a long story, it's pretty funny. To showrunners Rel Walker, Greg Fennell, Adam Cornelius, Vince Clement, Chuck Van Pelt, and John Lester, your faith in me provided me valuable opportunities to share experiences in gaming history and to get better for times like this when I need to speak to people, and that was great. To fellow city champion Robin Mahara and fellow Hall of Fame inductee Thor Ackerland, who was one of last year's inductees, my very first competitive rivals who have since become the dearest lifelong friends. I love you guys. So whenever you compete, you might make friends and rivals that will be with you for the rest of your life. Never forget that. Other good friends on the journey, Marissa Hirakawa, Jeff Yonan, Joe Willis, Alex and Matt Ovit, the staff and friends of Digital Savior, David and Daniel Proctor, Jim Hassan, Louis Stokes, Nikki Costa. The fun we had would never be forgotten. My fellow game development leads, Eric Suzuki and Kiyoshi Okuma, longtime friends, thank you for helping me continue realizing the dream of making games players will love. Most importantly, I need to thank those who carry the legacy and give our stories and experiences a home. Those like Doc Mack and the Galloping Ghost Arcade. The city of Ottumwa and the people who make International Video Game Hall of Fame and Museum possible, and of course, Walter Day. Thank you for preserving, furthering, and celebrating the history of video games and the people involved. The world needs more of this, and I cannot put into words how grateful I am for your efforts over the years. Video games are a wonderful thing that can make the world a better place, instilling confidence, bringing people together, and bestowing joy upon those who play them. It is a powerful responsibility for us as champions, creators, and protectors of gaming history to do our very best for the next generation of players who may find it their calling in life as I have. Let us continue the cycle of inspiration, competitive esports excellence, and empowerment into the future. So in closing, give others a shot. Cheer everyone around you to do their very best and make the highest score possible. Make all of your games fun and run at 60 frames per second. And always challenge your rivals with love and respect. I love you all, and thank you. Boom, Tetris for Jeff.
You heard Doc talk about the respect he has for them, and you heard me say earlier how the people we see, they inspire the spirit that we all look for, strive for, and hope for. That's a heck of a good example. You gonna be able to sleep okay tonight? Hope so. All right, congratulations. Again, from the Ottumwa Video Game Capital to you.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Doc, and thank you, Walter.
again, the spirit of Ottumwa and things that need to be said, they can't be left out. Vaughn's Automotive, they know that we had people flying in. As you know, you don't fly into Ottumwa. And everyone in Ottumwa keeps saying, yeah, but next year we're going to get an airline. So, Miss Mary wants to take credit for that. But the fact of the matter is, Vaughn Automotive made it possible that a good new vehicle, roomy, was loaned to us. We're able to pick anybody up at the airport who needed a ride. We'll be able to bring them back as well. And as I look over at the sign there, I didn't want to lose the opportunity to make sure we recognize that and we thank them. The other one is Dr. Pepper and Snapple. From the very beginning, absolute sponsorship. For example, they donated everything here. Everything is flat out donated. The money that's collected, 100% of it here on Veterans Day weekend, 100% goes to the Wounded Warriors. It's the spirit that's here. Seems like it's going to be hard for that spirit to ever die for any reason. Next. I always pick on the guys who are in that Life magazine photo because I say they went home. And there was one guy who went home, but he keeps coming back, and he does. He comes back and he supports every way and every opportunity he can, not only here, but whenever we're in his area. A great guy at the time, and certainly a great guy now, and certainly a guy who's qualified for the next introduction. Again, Mark Robachek, all the way from California.
Thank you, Billy. And first person I want to thank is Triforce, because of my lifelong list of titles, job titles, from systems engineer to quality manager to casino party dealer, I think my favorite title now is my newest one, which is Elder God. So thank you, Triforce. As an Elder God, I get the privilege of introducing someone who in many ways reminds me of me, which is kind of interesting. So I know there were certain video game players out there who are really good at a lot of games, like my friend Eric Jenner, Todd Walker. There are also some people like me who are very good at just a few games. I kind of focused on just a few, like Frogger. And now we have Lonnie McDonald. And the interesting stat about him is he's really known for focusing on one game, that being Joust. And I know the statistic says that he actually had 100 machines. I know he's past 150 now, of turning 10 million on that many machines. And so, yeah, he's the first person to ever record a score over 935. And you can see he's now a current US member of the National Video Game Team. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 2016, Lonnie McDonald.
Move it down to midget level. So I did prepare a little note here, but I thought it was interesting. I'd let you guys know that my mom and my wife. Oh, there she is. There she is. Wife has made it here, and my mom is over here too. And that's the reason I'm so short, is my mom is so short. Yeah. But my speech is like 2 hours long, and they left me to last. No, I'm just kidding. So really, I'm humbled to be here and included in the International Video Game Hall of Fame as an inductee. I grew up in Iowa, so not that far from here. I'm actually from Winterset, and so being inducted in a Hall of Fame that's actually in Iowa is kind of an extra honor. My family was pretty competitive in cards and pool, and so we learned to be competitive from an early age, playing just about everything. Losing was not an option. There are several people I'd like to acknowledge and thank. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I've done. One, my wife, for continued love and support. Steve Sanders is to blame for the current Joust obsessive compulsiveness that I'm on, because he encouraged me to pick up the game and play it again. And you guys all know who Steve is, right? Okay. So next time you see him, you can blame him. John Newcomer and the development team at Joust for such a timeless video game, the International Video Game Hall of Fame for being involved and the people involved for nomination and the induction. And Jerry and the team that put on the event here. It's so nice to have an arcade in here and be able to play stuff. I actually was fortunate to play the 175th joust machine to 10 million points here at this event. So that was pretty fun. We did it yesterday, not today. So if you were looking for it today, I couldn't be at the card signing at the same time. Kind of some fun highlights. There's probably a big long list someplace, but I think they pared it down. Having the joust, Walter was involved in this one. Having the joust development team plus Steve Sanders and Mark Hoff and Walter at Harry Carey's in Chicago prior to the 100th rollover at the Williams building where they were made. It was kind of a synergistic circle for us both back to the 80s when I was the first person to play 24 hours and he got inspiration from Williams to push the scoreboard even further. Then beating John Newcomer, the developer of Joust, head-to-head in a cutthroat tournament. Calling the icons like Newcomer and Python Angelo, the artist, and Walter Day friends. Meeting people like Billy and Mark and all the 80s elder gods. Yeah, elder gods. So I'll put that in there. I was going to use older gods, but I'm older than most of them, so I couldn't use that one. Playing, if you guys remember, at the 30th anniversary, I actually was here and played a J-Rock world record on the 30th anniversary of Joust at the original Twin Galaxies building, the first person who had played in it since the mid-80s. So that was kind of cool. I managed to almost pass out while I was there from the heat in the window, but that was a whole another story. Traveling to all 50 states and playing Joust and seeing others' passion for video games and pinball. Playing side by side with Steve Sanders for 15 hours. So you got it, Steve Sanders has to be a nice guy if you'll touch him for 15 hours because you can't play Joust not touching each other. Inspiring others to pursue unique greatness that sets them apart is iconic. I already mentioned playing the 175th machine here to honor the Hall of Fame. I continue to support the Hall of Fame and Ottumwa as the video game capital of the world. And I have one parting thought is to set your goals in life so high that as you strive to achieve them, you inspire others to greatness through the examples that you set. So you all can do that.
One thing I don't know if we mentioned or if anybody said, but it's kind of unique. Lonnie's happens to be a hometown boy. He's born here in Iowa, so that's another plug for him. Again, the most valuable thing here: blood, sweat, and tears. Put that together. Thanks always. Again, thinking of more people in the community. When we did the photograph down on Main Street, most of us went into the Polar Express. Again, just a small business here, doing anything and everything they can simply to support the event. That's the spirit. That's awesome. The Owl's Nest, which is a place here in town, which is likely a place that many of us are going to go afterwards. Then there's Professional Computer Solutions. Again, every one of these, they're local here in town. Okay, and it's kind of ironic that everybody locally supported things. That's the way things began until they grow on a national level. Quantum Custom Laser, again, a local company, and I don't want everyone to walk away without us saying how much we appreciate what they did and all. Almost all of that, well, there's always the guy at the top that gets all the credit. Well, here, the guy at the top, who will get all the credit, he doesn't deserve it. He's got an army behind him. And I'll call him up now, is Jerry Byron. Mike, Sam, and Mark. Well, we had 3 extra bags, and what were we going to do with them? So we had to figure things out. First of all,
We call that winging it.
winging it with hot sauce. Well, Sam.
Yes.
Where did Mark go? No. Sam, again, originally from Life magazine, made the arduous journey here. Okay, he's an easy one. Mark, originally from Life magazine, made that journey here as well. Jerry says, well, you did too. You get the 3rd bag. No, I don't want anything. I got too much silly stuff. I want to give it to someone else. Well, I keep picking on Mike. I'm here to embarrass him because he made the journey here. He wasn't here in 1982 for that photo, but he was here afterwards, and he's supportive. So, being a little political, I've been calling him the undocumented gamer because he's from California. All the political humor that goes behind that. But I just wanted to thank them in particular for coming here. And every year we hope to have more and more and more. Like Walter says, he has a goal of having all 15 of them here sooner or later or eventually, because that's where it began. That was the blood, sweat, and tears. And never could we have imagined at that time that it would lead to what we have here. The absolute amount of hard work that was in front of us. I always say, we just ran and ran and ran forward. We didn't always know where we were running. We just knew we would never achieve anything standing still. And somehow, eventually, we began to gain a compass and gain direction and realize what it was that may or may not work. And we didn't have the answers and we didn't have the foundation when suddenly things started to form in Ottumwa. A surprise to us, even a doubt of ours. It just began to form on its own, and the foundation began to form, and a community effort began to come together that would make something like this possible. Because it's something that outside of Ottumwa, people like me could never make happen, ever, under any circumstance. It has to be people here locally, people who are willing, as Walter says, to pick up the baton and run with it, because it's here and it's available to them. Nobody on the outside can make this happen. This belongs to Ottumwa. You could say it was a gift to Ottumwa, but today and forever, Ottumwa owns it, and nobody can take that from them. In this group, the Ottumwa Video Game Capital of the World, who has taken this on, again, we'll have Jerry speak, but he speaks on behalf of a lot of people and even the entire community. So that's Jerry Byron.
Yeah. Hold on. I've been watching these guys struggle with this mic all night. So. So, with that, first and foremost, I need to tell you that, Bill puts me at the top, and that's not true at all. As a matter of fact, I was not even on this committee. There were other guys starting this movement before I got on it. I just happened to be working in the background to try to open an arcade here. Actually, and we're going on 2.5 years on trying to get that done. But great things don't come quickly. I really need to bring this committee at least on their feet, because these guys, I'm just a pushy SOB behind them, trying to push them, and as Pat said, take some leadership, and I have some great, great people and great leaders on this committee. So Michael, Julie, Marcus, Jenny, Dennis, Mr. Bertlow, Terry, Bill. You guys absolutely killed it. Everything we have done has been on the backs of these folks. These guys are the workhorse behind everything we've done in the past year. Without them, none of this would have happened. So I want to give a big thanks personally to all of you. You kick ass. Now, part of this committee, it's multiple folds. First off, like what Billy said earlier, we were just going to come together and have a lunch. I think maybe Tim started that movement. Let's just have lunch and talk about the past and maybe eat a canteen or two. Anyone familiar with that? If you're not local here, you're missing out.
So I said, let's do something better than that. Let's put an arcade up and let's have a celebration. 35 years. 35 years from what this guy started. It meant a lot to me. The future of this means a lot to me. We are here to preserve the legacy of what happened in Ottumwa, Iowa. And all of you folks are involved. All of you folks helped. I want to see you back. Each and every one of you. Each and every one of you are a part of this. Without you, without the sponsors, without these folks and the legacy that was created in 1981, we could not do it without you. So to you, I say thank you. Thank you. Now, you know, a few things, and I'm gonna hustle out of here. I don't like to talk much, I just don't. So, you know, Lonnie came and he set 175 in the arcade. Thank you for that. The story behind that is 175 was bound for the fire pit. Literally, a week ago, that was in my garage, a gutted mess. There was nothing in it, not a single wire. It was a cabinet ready to be burned. I got it from the guy who was ready to light the match. I said, no, no, no. We're gonna preserve that like we do our legacy. Lonnie came in, played 175 on something bound for the fire pit. That's pretty amazing. So, Triforce, you know, you say that you're done gaming. You're not done gaming. You're moving, as you said. You are an ambassador now. Billy, Walter, we're all ambassadors. You are there with us. Todd came all the way from Florida. There's a lot of, let's just say, some news out there that really is not favorable to Todd and his history and his legacy. But we stand behind you because we believe in you. And thank you for being here and coming all this way. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Some of the guys, thank you. Some of the guys that Triforce brought, the new guys, the new generation, you guys, you may not realize it today, but in 30 years, when you're our age, you're going to look back at this and you're going to say, I'm glad I was a part of that. However, you're going to be in something bigger by then. This is going to be so huge. So live it and build it today for the generation behind you. This is yours, right? The young gamers that we've been supporting and putting on tournaments for all year long, the Youth League, all of the players in the Adult League, these are the guys that are filling the gaps behind us. You know, you hear all the time when you're working when you're a manager or you're a boss, you need to find people to fill behind you so that you can move up. This generation is brand new. They're coming up behind us. We need to support them and push them and bring them on and allow them to play because, again, this is their legacy. This will be them in 30, 35 years. The legacy, again, you know, I want to say something else, and then I'm going to be done. I remember back in the time, and Mayor Parker touched on this a little bit, and we've had discussions before, and when you think back, what does this mean to you? Why do you do this? I remember when I was little, I would go in the arcade, and I would get grounded. It was not a place where parents wanted their kids to be. It was bad. You were bad in the community. Your friends looked down upon you. Your parents didn't want to know you were there. You were grounded. But look at today. The evolution of gaming today is that I take my kids there, and they will take their kids there. It's a family environment. You walk into Star Worlds in DeKalb, Illinois, and because of what Patrick has done and has earned him into the Hall of Fame, is very much, he has seen this evolution for 35 years. It's 35, Patrick, right? 33? 33 years he has watched this evolution. This is The young people, again, the youth, this is theirs. We are a family environment, it's a friendly environment, and gaming is great. It is no longer the bad thing that we were brought up in. So let's relish it, love it, and live it, and thank you all for being here. We have one more, is it right? One more to give, right? So, to the last but not least, Walter, thank you.
Oh, you're right. That's perfect.
My bad, not one more to give. I was just excited. Walter, take it over.
He's a cheapskate. He doesn't want to give away anymore.
Well, Jerry has wrapped it up so nicely that there's not much more to say. This is your class of 2016 for the International Video Game Hall of Fame. On behalf of Billy, myself, and Mary Gaskell down there, who are board members, we thank you for coming. And we want all 4 of the present recipients with their awards to come up here for that official group picture. And then we would like to do an official group picture of everybody, because that's a tradition here in Ottumwa. Everybody's going to be in the group photograph. So after we do them, we're going to get, should it be up here on the stage? Everybody gets right up here on the stage for a group photograph. And then essentially, Billy and I will be free to go have our reward, which is a big bag of popcorn. Okay? So, okay, get all the award, get all the recipients right here in a row with their awards. What you holding? Yep. We're going to go by what Jerry says. So where should we go, Jerry?
Let's go in front of the museum spot.
Okay, we're going to go in front of the museum spot after we photograph the 4 guys
Change
here.
color shoes again.
You need out not in front of that screen.
Okay. Who's got the good camera to do this? I mean, there's a lot of cameras out here, but essentially, now the International Video Game Hall of Fame is going through processes. There is a ballot that's being developed so that you can vote for the inductees for the class of 2017. Come to our website, ivghuf.com, watch the process, participate in the process, help us select the members who will be inducted into the 2017 class. The actual date of presenting the inductees is still being refined and figured out, but essentially we've got a closure on us. This is good. We have our inductees for the class of 2016. Here they are.
Can y'all see? Mary.
Come over here. Mary.
You turn my camera on and